Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for coming to our first ILTA statewide litigation support meeting, the first of which we hope will have many more. A few little housekeeping items. Your cell phones, please put on vibrate or mute. If you have questions during the presentations, please feel free to just raise your hand. The more interactive this is, the better, so we'll be taking questions as we go through the program. In front of you, you all have surveys. There's a separate survey for each of the presentations. Please fill out those surveys, because if we do this again next year, which we hope to, that information is going to be invaluable for us to set this up. If you parked in the garage across the street, I'll warn you, it's $6 a day, and if your money doesn't fit in the machine well, like mine did last week, you have to get a token, and they have an office in the garage. You can go buy a token, and that'll get you out faster. So if you want to do that, that may help with any congestion at the end. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors before we get started. This for our breakfast and everything today. Renew Data, Lunch, Icon, the afternoon break, Guidance Software. The social hour after the meeting is Profile Imaging. And for the thumb drives and all our handouts, Inventus. Be careful if you get up and walk around so you don't trip on cables. Just keep your eye open for that, a little safety note. The thumb drives you received when you came in have the handouts for the conference. The restrooms, if you haven't found them already, are straight back as soon as you walk out the door. And last but not least, I'd like to thank the committee that put this whole thing together. Sue Kaiser of Jones Day. Sue, you want to wave? Julie Richey with AEP. Nicole Randall with Porter Wright. Back there, she's kind of hiding. And Brent Griffey with Frost Brown and Todd. And with that, I'll turn it over to Julie Richey for the first session.
Everybody hear me okay? I'm usually not a quiet person, so we weren't even sure I was going to need the mic. Okay, first I'll just introduce the panel. We have Julie Brown. She's the Litigation Technology Manager from Voorhees, Sater, Seymour, and Keith. And then we have Seth McGaugh. He's the Senior Project Manager from ICON. And we have John Rowley. He's the Director at iFramework. So kind of pulled together a power team for our project management discussion. And we thought we'd start off with some definitions that we found. Project management, and what is it? Going out and just doing the famous Googling for project management, you can find oodles of definitions of what project management is. We highlighted here the discipline of planning, organizing, and managing. There we go. See, multitasking. All right. Let's see. The discipline of planning, organizing, and managing resources to bring about the successful completion of a project. Okay, this one's reasonable. Another one. Approach to management of work within the constraints of time, cost, and performance requirements. It's different. Third one. A set of well-defined methods and techniques for managing people to accomplish a series of work tasks within a well-defined schedule and budget. So there's trends, but there's lots more definitions. Some of them sound very different than these. And so of these hundreds of differing opinions and definitions, which one's right? Which one is the right one for you? Some trends that this group has seen is that project management seems to be heavier in corporations, and law firms maybe have not gotten into a lot of what's the project management lingo and the project management processes yet. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today as well. So we are going to move, see, look at me, multitasking now. We're going to move to question number 1. And our first question that we wanted to talk about is, how do you define project management for litigation support? And I'm going to kick this question over to you, Julie, to start off.
Thank you, Julie. How do I define project management for lit support? I agree with the definitions she had up there, which is it's a set of methods, procedures, and whatnot that help you manage a case or a piece of a case to completion. The biggest challenge I see, well, first of all, when project management first started, everybody was saying, oh, do you need PMIs, certified project managers? And I was like, oh, that doesn't really fit. And I was thinking back to when I was in a corporate legal department and we did all the Gantt charts and those types of things. And the Gantt charts just weren't really fitting in with what we do in lit support. So, I'm not sure the traditional project management tools will necessarily work for lit support. At the same time, you really need to develop some systems and standards and procedures in order to manage what you're doing. One of the big challenges I think with lit support is what is the project? So if we take a look at the EDRM model, I'm sure, has everybody seen this? Everybody knows EDRM? No? Okay. For those of you who don't know the EDRM model, this is a model, it's at edrm.net, and there's a lot of materials written about each of these nodes, but it's essentially all the phases of an e-discovery case. So when you define a project, is a project the case from beginning to end? Are you managing the case from the information management or identification stage, complete through presentation and then closure? Or are you just managing the processing piece of the case? And it depends really on what you do, what your lit support department is responsible for. So one way to identify is to kind of think about what areas of e-discovery you're actually involved in, and then begin developing methods and standards around that. What do you guys think?
My experience consulting with firms as far as what they consider a project to be is usually one part of the entire case life cycle. I would say about 85% of the firms we're talking to, if they have a data load project or they are managing an imaging project or whatever the case may be, they consider that one particular project as far as not the whole entire life cycle of the case is the project. So that's the trend that I see as I talk to firms specifically about their project management capabilities.
And I agree with that, because in most cases, as everybody knows, the case is filed and then eventually discovery starts. So you've already done your identification, preservation, hopefully way up front, then sometime later collection, and then by the time you get to processing, a year may have passed. So it's almost impossible to think of an entire case. Although, if you get the case that is actually filed and things move very quickly and we move right into discovery and then through production, there's room occasionally to actually look at the entire case and plan it out that way.
I just want to add, what we see a lot on the vendor side is that when we actually get involved with the project, many times just on the processing aspect or on the review aspect, our questions actually start very early on. How were the custodians identified? How was the data identified? Going through each of the steps, looking at how they were actually collected, and then actually looking at the other end. So many times we find that we need to ensure we find that it really is the entire life cycle of a case. The other part that I find in project management litigation support is that there are many times, and I think you guys have all dealt with this, that we have court-ordered deadlines and we have things that are very strict. But at the same time, what really shakes things up is the idea that we all wait as much as possible to the last minute, which is very much against a lot of project management rules and standards that we put together. But going back to the idea of the methodologies, really making sure that we are following this, it is important that we do each step, and we find that really making sure you look at the entire life cycle constantly is really important.
Any questions on that question?